Dearest gentle reader, Benedict Bridgerton cannot hurt me because I never liked Benedict Bridgerton, quite frankly, which put me at a bit of an advantage this season. Or a disadvantage. One of those two, not entirely sure yet. But hi, I'm Song. Welcome to my channel. Please pardon the poor lighting. My overhead light in my room died, and I can't change it until later tonight. But if I do that, all the natural light will be gone, and it'll. So I'm making do with what I can, and I have to record today because I go back to work tomorrow. Whatever. But we're here, and I want to talk about Bridgerton Season 4, Part 1, because I'm finally caught up, and also this will be my video that goes up right before Valentine's Day, and I know the rest of the videos I'm doing in February, and I kind of needed something lighthearted before we get to them, because the next two are going to be a little heavy. But for now, let's have fun. I just want to talk about Bridgerton for a bit. And we're going to start with, I like Bridgerton. At least I think I like Bridgerton, if that makes sense. I want to like it. I want to like it more than I do. You know what I really love about Bridgerton? Is the colors. And the architecture, but especially the colors. Like, as long as we're not in the brothels or the bachelor pad or something like that, I know that the scenery and the colors on everything is going to be bright and beautiful and lush and jewel toned. And that's one of the biggest draws for me. One of the worst parts about not having great lighting today is you probably can't see my eyeshadow, which I based it off Penelope's blue and green color palette that started last season and is carrying over into this one. I'll say right here, Penelope is my favorite character, which is why I'm glad she's still here. And it's why season 3 frustrated me a bit, because like many people, I feel like the Colin and Penelope story kind of got glossed over in favor of all the drama and Benedict's extended threesome, which personally I found... Okay, I don't have a problem with the threesome. Like, that, if you wanted that to happen, I see how it benefits Benedict's story, fine. I don't have a problem with the threesome. I have a problem that the threesome took so much time and so much screen time. And it also started and continued both kind of the fact that Benedict is so self-absorbed in his search for self-actualization that, like, he keeps missing family events and he keeps not being there, which is of course a big deal this season. My biggest thing with Benedict Bridgerton is, I think it was season 2 where he got into art school and he's there and he's having a great debaucherous time until, you know, someone lets slip, oh yeah, your brother bought your way in, so we thought you weren't going to be very good, but it turns out you are really good at this. And maybe this is just me coming from an underprivileged background and being fueled by spite in many cases. For me, especially as an artist who never got to do any kind of classes because of money and stuff like that, the fact that he just sulked and dropped out of art school after Anthony paid his way in and just wasted all that money, and he doesn't even draw anymore. He said you were better than they expected you to be. He said you took them by surprise. He said you had proven yourself. If it were me, after a day or so of sulking, the spite would have kicked in and I would have come back and just been like, okay, bitches, brace yourself. I'm going to be the best I can be, and I'm going to take full advantage of this situation that I found myself in. And it really bothered me the way Benedict just, dropped it. And he's just been carousing and drinking and wasting time ever since. Like, that just bugged me, especially when it's like, if you want me to care for his season, you're gonna have to win me over. I'm still not sure if if season 4 has brought me onto Benedict's side. Like, they've brought me onto Sophie's. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Sophie deserves so much better than Benedict. She also deserves so much better than, like, everything the story is giving her. She deserves so much better than Araminta. She deserves so much better than her father. She deserves so much better than, like, everything. Like, poor Sophie, man. So it's like, I'm totally on Sophie's side, but I'm also kind of looking at Benedict going, girl, I feel like you could do better. I I feel like there has to be a better option than Benedict. And I do think that Benedict is, I think the arc they're setting up for him, especially with him getting called out for, like, never finishing anything, if they carry that through in part 2 of this season, they might win me over. He's still not going to be my favorite, but there is certainly potential there. Yeah. As for Sophie, just absolutely, this poor girl. This poor girl. Spoilers for the season so far. Like, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the season, this is not a review. This is not a recap. This is just me talking about my feelings about the season so far. But yes, the season has been beautifully shot. The masquerade ball was so pretty, and all the flowers and the costumes and the scenery and also the Sophia reveal before the masquerade and then the rewind at the beginning of season 2. I loved those. You know, the way everyone's putting on their masks and then Sophie is the last one you see and you're going, I mean, you knew who it was if you watched the trailers or anything, but still, like, oh, I really liked that reveal. I really liked the way they did the flashback with episode 2. I knew a couple things about the book. I haven't read the book, but I knew a couple things going in, which was why the whole be my mistress thing didn't surprise me. Still bothered me, but didn't surprise me. Um, After watching this, I learned a couple more details. But even before that, I watched the flashback at her father's grave, and I was like, Araminta is lying through her teeth talking about the will. I guarantee she is lying through her teeth. Also, what is Araminta's problem? The way she talks, anytime she talks to anyone, pretty much, it, especially like when she was talking to Violet Bridgerton at the masquerade ball, the way she talks is so stilted. And I don't think it's the actress. I know it's the writing. Just the way it's like, oh, well, I don't go out much after the death of my husband's. And it's just so awkward. And it's like, you have 2 daughters who are out in society. Aren't you supposed to be, like, networking with the other mothers, especially the mothers of, like, eligible bachelors? But, like, it seems like she's not even trying. Like, we're missing a whole potential of networking there. And it seems like she doesn't want to be bothered. But also which, like, that's not even addressing the whole situation with the maid wars. I love that little subplot and the fact that Araminta is so scummy and so bad and just so oblivious and thinking she's above the rules of these social circles that she can just snipe the help. Does she really think she can get away with this? Like, you have 2 daughters who you are trying to make good matches for. And you're making yourself public enemy number 1. I promise A house right next door to the Bridgertons is not going to help. But also, speaking of Araminta stealing servants from other houses, Varley, the Featheringtons maid. Okay, Portia Featherington. How are you being so stupid? Like, I think now that she has all 3 children married off, all 3 daughters married, and like all 3 of them with children at this point, and like her line is secure, I think she's getting a bit lazy. Varley has practically hidden bodies for her. Varley has written blackmail notes. Varley knows everything. Everything. Portia isn't considering this? Like, Varley's like, hey, I could use a raise now that you have some money again. Portia, what are you doing? Portia is not the smartest on the show. She never has been. But she's usually smart enough when it comes to her scheming and making things work, which is why her screwing things up so bad with Varley, I'm sitting here going, you've gotten lazy. Like, you think that now that the title is secure and all 3 of your daughters are married, this is gonna come back to bite you. I just know it, especially with the cliffhanger of Varley going to work for the Pembrokes. Oh, that's gonna be messy. That's like one of the things I'm most excited for in the next part of the season is like, what's gonna happen with that? Like, what's gonna happen when they find out that she went to work for the Pembrokes? So excited for that. I think I mentioned Penelope is my favorite character. I'm enjoying her thing with the Queen, and the pressure of the Queen taking a special interest and expecting kind of special privileges from her, which is very fitting for Queen Charlotte, honestly. Very much enjoying that. I'm very glad Penelope is still there, because like, even as like the trailers and the promotional stuff was coming out, and I was like, what do you mean you want me to care about Benedict? It was the stuff about Penelope that got me excited for this series. Let's see. Francesca. I need to talk about Francesca for a minute. How do I say this? Last season, when Francesca talked to her mother about how not every love story needs to be loud and grand and passionate, and sometimes there is another kind of love. Sorry, I had to pause because someone was vacuuming, and these are so uncomfortable and they're not working. Nice idea. I guess I don't get bling. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so the whole thing of Francesca and Lord Kilmartin last season, I was so on board for that. Like, I didn't know what the story in the books was at that point, but it was kind of nice to see the story defending a quieter, softer kind of love, something that might not be as loud but is still deep. And then they just cut it off at the knees, and it's like, okay, to be fair, for the women who have read the books and who relate to Francesca's infertility issues, I say this as a woman with fertility issues, I totally understand why they feel robbed of that story. I don't personally think it's worth boycotting the show or being weird about it, but I understand people who feel attached to that storyline and why they feel like a sapphic storyline isn't going to have the same impact. I get that. And I think it is extremely disingenuous to say anyone who isn't happy about the change is just homophobic. The other thing is, wow, did you undercut the whole thing of A Quieter Love? And like, that's the part that really bothers me, is the way that they just undercut Francesca and John's entire story. And they continue to do it now with, like, John can't get her off. It's so much for, it's the quiet ones we need to worry about. And, the quiet ones tend to be the freakiest behind closed doors. No, we're just going for quiet is boring. And, that's why reformed rakes make the best husbands. And I will say, I've seen a few people freaking out about that line, as if that line hasn't been used in the show before. I'm pretty sure, at the very least, I'm pretty sure it was used in promotion. Like, if you're at season 4 of Bridgerton and you're freaking out over that line, you're in the wrong place. Like, calm down, back off. This is clearly not where you belong. I may not like rakes, but I also kind of understand. There's this concept I've been thinking about quite a bit recently, which is like meeting a story where it's at. Where it's like, is Bridgerton entirely to my tastes? Not really. But I also know that it's not written for me, and I can still enjoy it for what it is. It's not even that I'm unhappy with the Michaela change. I just don't like that it's happening so quickly, and that it's undercutting Francesca and John's story so much. That one just feels weird to me, and it feels kind of dismissive of the people who really related to the quieter kind of love storyline that we thought was going on. That brings me to Eloise. And Hyacinth telling Eloise off was so nice. I've waited 4 seasons for that. It's kind of funny how people talk about how, oh, Eloise is the feminist. Eloise doesn't like other girls. Like, even with Penelope, she's not a very good friend to Penelope. She's extremely judgmental of any woman whose interests don't align with hers. Like we saw last season, she was shocked that women might actually enjoy embroidery. Like, your sister is Daphne Bridgerton. And Francesca, and even Hyacinth. And it's like, it never even crossed her mind that maybe some people like different things. And maybe that's not a bad thing, and maybe that doesn't make them inferior to you, it just makes them different. But the worst part about Eloise is she's insufferable about it. And I don't think she's all that feminist because she's so judgmental to other women. And she just looks down on them if they don't align with her. Even with Penelope. It's like she didn't care about Penelope and what Penelope went through most of the time. That's why she didn't notice anything, and why Penelope was able to get away with being Lady Whistledown without Eloise even pausing to suspect. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of Eloise. I am very curious about Hyacinth's season. Hyacinth has been so much fun so far this season, and her being so excited about her dresses and table settings and wanting to go to balls. I get it, girl. That would be me if I was a Bridgerton. I would absolutely be the one going, yes! Yes, I want to go to the balls. I want to learn how to set up tables and host tea parties. Yeah, that would absolutely be me. So I'm looking forward to Hyacinth's season. Very curious to see what they do with Eloise's, because I feel like we're getting to the point where if the show is willing to call Eloise out, like they did with Hyacinth, it's making... Okay, it's the same way, like, with Benedict this season. He's been called out for, never finishing anything, and how he just kind of has all these hobbies that he picks up and then abandons, yada yada. Even like with his search for the woman in silver, when he didn't get what he wanted and didn't get the result, he just went off and got drunk for however long, so much so he didn't know where he was or what he was doing. So the fact Benedict has been called out makes me interested to see where the rest of the season goes. Eloise getting called out makes me interested to see what her season is going to be. So yeah, I'm still here for the next few seasons. I'm definitely interested to see where the rest of this season goes. Violet Bridgerton, man, okay. Violet having her love story is fun. The lingerie was amazing. And "I am the tea you will be having" is a line that I will probably remember for the future. But I need this woman to learn how to talk to her kids. Okay, I'm bit of a rant. I meant to keep this video fairly short, but it looks like that's not happening. A lot of people have pointed out that Daphne's whole storyline in season 1 of not knowing what sex was doesn't make sense societally, because at that time, written pornography was actually really common and was something that was given to women, including noble women, to avoid situations like what Daphne ended up with the Duke. The purity culture, not even purity culture, but the mentality towards sex that we see in the show wasn't Regency England. That was Victorian England. Because Victoria was a prude. Ironically, because she couldn't... I have beef with Queen Victoria. There are so many things I could say why I do not like Queen Victoria, but one of them was that she created this taboo around sex and not being able to talk about sex. And in that era was when women stopped reading these erotic stories and even these educational stories that taught them about sex. So it's like, it really doesn't make sense for that to be in Regency England. There is still the whole thing that it's like, the men can go off and do whatever they want, and oh well, that makes them good husbands. But, you know, the women... Can I just say, the Sophie masturbation scene was actually kind of nice to see. Just because, like, I know season 1 had the whole thing about Simon telling Daphne how to pleasure herself, but I kind of like that in this case Sophie already knew. I feel like we haven't seen enough of that in the show, which also brings me to another point that I'm just kind of curious about. Has anyone noticed the complete lack of female nudity in this season? Like, maybe it's just a really stark difference after season 3, where Nicola Coughlan was out here just straight up saying, yeah, no, I wanted to be as naked on screen as possible, and I wanted people to see that I have a great body, and I wanted that preserved for history. So like, she was very comfortable being naked on set and doing the nude scenes. There has not been any of that this season. Not even just Sophie, but like anyone. And it's gotten kind of strange because, like, the only nudity I can remember is like a little bit of Benedict from this season. A little bit of Benedict when he got out of the lake. And the 2 black men, we've had very prominent views of their backsides. But the women are always in nightgowns. I want them to be empowered that they can do that in their contracts if that's their choice. But I also kind of wonder if if they're trying to cater to the female gaze more, and like, oh, this isn't for the male gaze, this is for women, so we're only going to show male skin. But it still feels a bit odd. I don't know, maybe that's just me, and that's something that's always been kind of weird to me in movies and TV shows, is it's like, oh, there was a sex scene, and then they wake up with clothes on. Okay, that's a choice. And like, maybe it's nothing, but like I said, it just feels kind of odd to me, especially the Violet scene where it's like, oh, that was so amazing. With the corset still on? Really? Really? Okay. If you say so, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, that's just something that really stood out to me as a bit odd as I was watching it, and as I kept noticing it. I'm like, that's okay, that's a choice. Okay, is there anything else? I'm looking forward to seeing Kate and Anthony in the second part of the season. I'm looking forward to more Penelope. I am curious to see where Benedict's character arc goes. I'm really curious to see everything that happens with like the maid wars and all that, and especially like once Portia Featherington finds out where Varley went. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting. I have a feeling they're gonna turn it to their advantage, and Varley is probably gonna be the one who finds out that Araminta is lying about the will. And I'm sure everything will work out because this is Bridgerton. But yeah, very curious to see where that goes. And my God, Sophie deserves so much better. That's all I can finish on at this point, is Sophie deserves better. And please let Lady Danbury have a life. I haven't even watched Queen Charlotte just because I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. But the scenes with Queen Charlotte and Lady Danbury have definitely, I've felt those. Like, I know enough about what happens in Queen Charlotte that I felt those scenes. I should sit down and actually watch Queen Charlotte soon. But yeah, so I'm very curious to see what happens in part 2 of this season, and I plan to come back and do another video just kind of babbling about it a bit. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you're most excited to see in the rest of the season, and what season or which sibling you want to see next season. And yeah, I have to go finish taking care of my laundry because the washing machine here is not draining properly, so I'm having such a hard time washing my bedding. It's currently a nightmare that's been going on all day. But yeah, I gotta go take care of that, and I've got to get this video edited. Next week, the video is going to be more personal. If you're new to my channel, mostly what I talk about is just kind of whatever I want. And me, I talk a lot about myself, and just stuff going on. So next week, a bit heavier, something I've kind of been needing to talk about. But yes, for now, I will wrap this up here. Let me know down in the comments what you think. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see my part 2 follow-up, maybe even subscribe to the channel, but that's up to you. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.